police are very rarely charged, even when they're caught in misconduct. And the statistics show it. When they are caught doing stuff purposely, when they are being informed about what they are doing is wrong, they sweep it under the rug. And even if you go to their superior, they still walk out on that beat with their job.
Exactly.
No consequences. We want consequences because what happens is if I'm scared I'm going to lose my job, I'm going to get it together. The reason why y'all have so many corrupt police is because y'all have a history of no consequences for the actions behind police when they are caught.
Exactly.
That's true. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Right. And that record don't go with it.
Some shopping mall or something.
Okay, no, I get you gotta get a shot. I understand that. But you're out here to talk to the people, hear the people's concerns, and that is a major concern.
Welcome to St. Louis.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
I'm glad to be here, man. So what's going on?
So we are approaching the 1-year anniversary of the events that took place in Ferguson. And we are preparing for Ferguson First Friday, a community leadership brunch that is being given by our organization and sponsored by Emerson. We've invited business leaders, business owners, elected officials, general people from the community, and law enforcement to have really a report on the positives that have changed from Ferguson. You know, we saw it all over the world.
Okay.
And oftentimes we only hear about the negatives, the lack of change, the lack of progress. But a great deal has changed in Ferguson. You know, you've had 40 states since the death of Mike Brown have enacted legislation around police reform. The city of Ferguson has elected new members of the city council. A lot of things have changed. And those are good things. A lot of business leaders have stepped up to the plate to help businesses rebuild and create job opportunities for people.
My main thing is here, I want a person to come inside here and forget everything that's going on outside. So I want to make this like home. Again, it's a peaceful place. It's more of a place to get away than to go to and still hear the same old stuff that's going out in the streets. So that's the way I try to keep it.
So the first thing I did was I went to the local businesses. I wanted to know how this Michael Brown Ferguson situation affected their commerce. You know, it seemed like they had all become like a place of refuge. That they opened their doors in a sense to the community and were leaders.
Is that we still have an influx of new businesses and small businesses alike that are coming into the Ferguson area. Just this strip that I'm in, and I'm located at 15 South Florissant, we have 3 new African American businesses that are right here in the heart of Ferguson. You've got new restaurants that are coming, new entertainment. The whole key is to continue to keep this community vibrant. That's on the business economic development growth side of it. But on the other side of it, we still have opportunities for new employment. So with the empowerment zone that the Urban League is bringing in, with Centene Corporation bringing in a new location, with the transit company bringing in new opportunities, I see us as a community growing. I see us as a community building.
There's something beautiful about St. Louis, and I think when America looked at Ferguson, they misread her, and they misread her people. What they was really seeing was the heart of who America is, the ability to strive in this country, not always get everything you attained for, but to always be proud of who you are and where you are and where you come from, and always be willing to fight for the right to speak and to be heard. That's what I like about being a St. Louisan. We are unashamedly proud of who we are. They don't call us the show me state for anything. We show you who we are.
There are several changes that I would like to see when it comes to education. For the last 3 years, I have been working on education policy here in the state of Missouri, especially focusing on inner urban communities. In my Senate district, there are 2 unaccredited school districts, and Michael Brown graduated from one of them. It was very obvious to me from the very beginning, day one, when we were on the ground, the people who felt so much despair and had no hope whatsoever one of the things that came out in a lot of their anger and frustration is the fact that they needed a different pathway. And some of these pathways should have been taught in school, but were not taught in school. So critical thinking is very important. Trying to figure out what an outcome would be for this movement that we are in right now is very critical. But that was not what we were doing in the first few days. There's just a lot of frustration. I want young people to be as innovative and creative as possible. They have absolutely stood their ground when it comes to ending this oppressive, systematic environment in which we live. But there are also other things that we all need to learn.
Well, I'm Jalen Mosby. I'm a 20-year-old intern here at the City of Ferguson through E-Little Communications, and I've basically been in charge along with Greg with coming up with communications plans and doing social media work for the City of Ferguson. Outside of it just being us being young, it's important to know how to communicate with people of all ages. I mean, Ferguson has a community outside of just like the young people. There's a lot of older people here who don't necessarily use social media and things like that. So it's important to me to know how to use those things to my advantage, but also know how to use other outlets to communicate with people of all ages, because it takes all of us for sure to make change and make a difference.
Issues. There's a divide between west and the east side of Ferguson. So this being the east side, this is the West Florissant corridor versus the South Florissant corridor. They have like a lot of the beautification projects and things like that. Like over the years, they put the time and the money over there. Your library is over there, a big fancy new police station, and the firehouse is over there. They've got the street lights and things, versus this side of town has really been neglected. So I would really like to see the mayor be more active and actually listen to the citizens, because he's really neglected them during his term, and a lot of residents, if you go to the city council meetings, are really disappointed with his lack of activity during the whole process. So I would like him to listen to the residents, be more active, actually show up at a lot of these groundbreaking events and just things where he can engage the community as well as the law enforcement. And I think we've seen some changes within the regime in the political structure, but there's more that needs to happen. But I think it's more of a mentality thing that needs to change as well. But I would like to see them give our local government here give as much attention to this side of town as they do the other side of town.
All people want to do is to be able to provide for their families. And there's so many barriers that have been in the way, including jobs. Education has been substandard for a very long time. Mike Brown attended his school district that has been unaccredited for a while. And so we need to create an environment that is conducive and also equitable. We talk a lot about equality, but we need to talk about what policy is equitable. And what I've been working on for the last 3 years, as I mentioned, is a education policy that will give options to young people who are quite deserving. I don't think that children should be trapped in unaccredited school buildings. We have a law that was put into place in 1993 that allows young people to switch school districts once their school district became unaccredited. I am a product of the desegregation program, and I have to tell you, that's a hard decision that my mom and my dad had to make when I was young. But I'm very grateful for it, because today, not only am I a school board member, but I am also a state senator, and I am accrediting that to the wonderful education that I got here in University City and also in Clayton.
The changes I've seen in the community are definitely the creation of the Ferguson Commission to take a look at what needs to be done going forward. I've seen the passage of Senate Bill 5, which reduces the amount of revenue that municipalities can collect from traffic tickets, and also establishes the minimum requirements for a municipality. I've also seen a lot of community engagement and really a lot of attention now paid to what we can do going forward. And the Treasurer's Office created the Office of Financial Empowerment to do so, Just later this month on August 25th, we'll hold the grand opening of the Office of Financial Dignity, or the Financial Dignity Center in City Hall, which will be open for anyone, any city resident or anyone to be able to receive free financial counseling on how to build a budget, how to check their credit, how to repair their credit, how to purchase a home, purchase a car, the list goes on. And we have a wonderful partnership with banks and nonprofits to fund the opening of that center. Our signature project is our Children's Savings Initiative, which launches this fall. Every kindergartner entering a public school in the city of St. Louis will receive a $50 account seeded by my office and incentives to increase the amount in that account by either perfect attendance, parents' participation in financial education, or also dollar for dollar match savings up to $100.
What's up? This your boy Capaley, representing Ferguson, born and raised. I'm from the neighborhood. I witnessed all type of destruction of the neighborhood, police brutality. And what I would like to see different in the neighborhood is better relationships with the police officers and us. You know what I mean?
Well, all officers are different.
Okay.
And I can't speak of all of them, but we do talk to them. As a sergeant, my goal with my officers are to let them know when you come in contact with the community or anyone that's outside of our community, you treat them how you would want to be treated. I mean, assuming the situation, you don't want to come off. Sometimes an officer mannerism can come off kind of cocky, and that's not what we want. We want them to come off pleasant, respectful. Some people may take that as a sign of being aggressive, but that's something that we are addressing.
Police brutality is something that has been happening across America since the 60s. What we saw in Ferguson with the Mike Brown situation is nothing new to this nation, but the attention it received is new. And so what I thought was, wow, what a great opportunity for us to address an historic issue that has plagued our community for such a long time. And talk to brothers that lived in the 60s, talk to brothers that lived in the 80s, and they will tell you that there was something called driving while black in the 60s. There was something called driving while black in the 80s. Here's the difference. Young people got a hold to something called social media. They took their video cameras, they took their telephone cameras, they knew they had a right from the Supreme Court to film, but they didn't just film. They took the power of social media and they started posting. And nothing makes America more humble, more embarrassed than when her hypocrisy is seen by a nation. And that's what happened in the Mike Brown case. That's what happened in the Eric Gardner case.
What is your hope for how law enforcement will engage with peaceful protesters this weekend?
What I hope to see is police and protesters respecting the law and officers respecting the amendment rights of the protesters, allowing them to express themselves, express their hearts, their frustrations in a peaceful manner, and law enforcement being on their best to show that we're not the enemy.
The last thing I did was I went to the streets in Ferguson and I talked to the people that are around every day in the community and really getting to experience, the injustices and then the changes that are being made. And I heard a lot of the same things though, the police don't treat us with enough respect. Our voices aren't really being heard. And then that the law enforcement really isn't being held accountable for their actions. There's no accountability.
Because that's the law on the book. It should be a crime for an individual who we pay to protect and preserve our community to stand and watch another officer violate that and do nothing about it. It should be a crime for another officer to watch an officer and falsify a document, not tell the truth on the document, and still be able to remain on the force. It's so critical that America take an opportunity to deal with the two elephants that sit in her room, and they are a broken education system and racism. And so that's what the National Bar Association really tried to do with its other initiatives.
We say, how can something like this happen in broad daylight to this young African American? He said, well, it's like 50 years ago. And the only way we stop this, y'all, is if the community stakeholders, all of us, the business leaders, the elected officials, law enforcement, all of us say, we won't allow this to happen in our community.